Today I'm going to do a case study massive transfusion reaction. We're going to talk about massive transfusions, what they are when we do them. So here are our objectives for the course. So what a massive transfusion is. A massive transfusion is any transfusion or expected transfusion of more blood volume replacement in less than 24 hours. So one or more blood volume replacement. What that means is a human adult male has about 10 to 12 units of blood. So what we are expecting in this situation is a complete 10 to 12 units, at least once, replacement in an adult male. So you're replacing all your blood volume at least one time. If you remember back to that first day of class, we had that this case study from the Red Cross where they had the gentleman receive 28 units of blood in one 24-hour period. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. So he replaced his almost 3 times. So that would be a massive transfusion protocol. So what are our priorities when we're dealing with massive transfusion? Replace and maintain blood volume. Okay, we have to have a certain amount of blood volume to pump throughout the body. I mean, the blood volume starts falling so much, the heart starts pumping, and it's just not enough pressure, not enough blood volume to pump. Optimize oxygen carrying capacity. The brain has 4 to 7 minutes of no oxygen before it starts having brain death and brain issues. So we want to make sure within, we have the optimum oxygen carrying capacity. We want the brain getting oxygen. The brain is really smart during situations like this, and what it's going to do is shunt off supplies to other organs and other parts that don't need it. For example, one of the first things during a cardiac arrest that shuts down is the stomach. So instead of spinning oxygen to the stomach to help digest food, it's going to shunt it all to the brain, and so it's really good at making sure the brain stays there. But we have to make sure that we have enough oxygen carrying capacity to keep the brain and all the organs alive. Maintain hemostasis. Platelet coagulation factors, plasma. We want to make sure we're giving these when we're giving out the mass transfusion. If I give just lots of cells, one, it's going to become kind of sludgy, and 2, all these cells but no clotting factors is going to cause problems also. And then we want to correct or avoid metabolic disturbances. So we want to make sure that hypocalcemia. Think about blood. When we give a unit of blood, the preservative we use is sodium citrate. Sodium citrate is going to bind to calcium. What happens when your calcium binds? Your calcium levels in your blood is going to go down. Hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, acid-base disturbances, all those things have to be maintained. We can't just let it all go and hope it all comes out for the best. So all those things is what we're going to work on during a transfusion. So, massive transfusion protocol, what is it? What it is, it's a multidisciplinary protocol set up in advance of a life-saving blood emergency. So what we are doing at this point is before anything major happens, because when something major happens is not the time you want to be dealing with this. When something major happens, you need to have a plan in place so it's a well-oiled machine. So beforehand, what you do is you pull together this whole team of people. You're going to have the blood bank. You're going to have the medical director. You're probably going to have a pathologist. You're going to have your surgical team. You're going to have your emergency department. All these different people are going to come in a room. And it's going to be, if we have a massive transfusion protocol, what do you think it needs to be part of? Every institution is going to vary from place to place to place. Some people might have 4 units of red cells for 2 platelets to 1 plasma. Whatever the protocol is for the facility is fine, but the facility has 1 massive transfusion protocol. There may be slight differences, for example, in maternity or things like that if we're dealing with different specialties within a hospital. But for the most part, if somebody calls massive transfusion protocol, we know exactly within the institution what is coming. So backtrack back to lecture 3-ish, 2, 3, something like that. What do we know about ABO? ABO antibody. It's an IgM. Okay, big, naturally occurring. It's expected once you're 6 months or so above. We're going to expect to see it. And it's cold, but remember, it will react at any temperature. So it's always important to remember, it's a cold acting, but ABO will react at any temperature. So the antigen, poorly developed at birth. Birth, you have little I. About 6 months, it branches into your big I. When you get your big I, now we've got a more well-developed antigen. So at birth, it's poorly developed. It's well-developed as an adult. So what do we know about RH? It's an IgG antibody. So it's small, across the placenta. It's unexpected. You do not develop an anti-D unless you've been exposed to a D antigen due to an immune response. It's warm acting, it likes body temperature, and it can cause HDN. As I said, it can cross the placenta, it can cause HDN. What do we know about the antigen? The antigen is well developed at birth. Remember, it weaves in and outside of that red cell membrane, and so it's embedded in that red cell membrane. It's well developed at birth. So when we're looking at blood, we want to always stay Rh compatible. As much as we can, that's going to be one of our main focuses, Rh compatibility. If we get repeated exposures, it's very immunogenic, meaning a small amount is going to elicit an immune response because it's very immunogenic. We want to make sure that we do not give too much because it can cause a hemolytic transfusion reaction. Now, in men, it is very unlikely that they will ever again have a massive transfusion situation again. Okay, we assume. Most people are going to make their entire lives without one. Anybody that has one is really unlikely to have two. So because of that, we can give RHD positive blood in emergency situations. We don't want to, but we can. However, in women of childbearing age in particular, the danger of an Rh positive fetus developing is very likely. So remember, Rh negative people, only 15%, 85% of the population are Rh positive. She marries an Rh positive male, they have an Rh positive baby. So the danger of the fetus developing HDN is a real significant danger. So if it is necessary to give Rh positive blood to an Rh negative woman of childbearing age, which we'll talk about the case here in a minute, it might be required to do that. In which case, we're going to give some Rh immunoglobulin. So remember, the Rh anti-D, we're going to put little stocking caps. We're going to make sure that any Rh positive blood she gets, we give that Rh immunoglobulin, we give it the little stocking cap so her immune system does not see it and recognize it, so that when she has future babies, they're not going to be attacked by her anti-D. So here's our case. We have a 32-year-old female who was biking in northern Wisconsin when she hit a pothole, which threw her over the handlebars of her bike. She hit her head on the impact, causing a concussion. Her fellow biker friends called 911, and she was rushed to a small hospital for triage. Now, northern Wisconsin, right? Super rural. When we're talking one of these small hospitals, it's probably a little freestanding 4-bed emergency room with like 3 or 4 rooms for, you know, a few people with minor problems, right? So, very, very small facility, not much going on. But while she was there, she started losing consciousness and her blood pressure was falling. So at that point, they realized something is wrong. It's not just a concussion. So they transferred her to a larger small town hospital. And when she was immediately taken into surgery to repair a torn liver and a ruptured spleen. So again, a larger small town hospital in northern Wisconsin, probably not still very big, right? They're all still pretty small, very spread out, long way from each other. Also, this woman had a history of excessive bleeding with menses and tooth extractions. So she already had a history of bleeding. So, ruptured spleen, ruptured liver, history of bleeding, not a great combination. So the doctors ordered 28 units of blood to be available. So she immediately took 4 of the 5 units of ONED from the hospital shelves, and as they were going into surgery, and then her red cells, they were able to type them pretty quick as a group B RHD negative. So here's what we got in the coolers. I'm going to look at them each a little bit bigger. Blood supply. We have got A pos 8, A negative 3, B pos 4, B negative 2, O negative. We had 5. We sent 4 in, so we got 1 more. O positive 8, AB positive 3, AB negative none. So looking at this with what we know about ABO and RH, what do you think we can give? What can we do? She's a B negative, so we know we can't give any A's. Okay, anything we give A is just going to go in and go out. It's going to be destroyed by your system. She's got anti-A. If she's got B antigen, she's got anti-A antibody, it's going to be destroyed. So we can give B's, and we can give ABs. And we can give our O and X here, our O's. I'm sorry, we can't give our ABs. I'm sorry. B's and our O's. They asked for 28 units. If you look here, we barely have 28 all over. But if you look at our B's, we have 6, and our O's, we have 9, which is only 15 more units, plus the 4 we got, that's 19 units. We still need over 10 more units in this situation we're dealing with this. So, you gotta be aware. That's if we start giving Rh positive blood. If we focus on just the Rh negative, that would be great, but that means I have the 5 total, 1 left, I only have 3 more units of blood. This would be a situation, we're gonna be on the phone with our nearest donor center, our local hospitals, our local, whoever's nearest to us, who has some blood we can use, and we're gonna be calling whoever we can at the hospital to do the running. We might be calling the sheriff, depending on the situation. The sheriff's up there oftentimes run blood between places. So we're going to be reaching out to all these people to have them start going. We want them to start helping us take care of this. Now, if you are alone, depending on the time of day this is the ER, you're going to need somebody else to call in, because you need somebody on the phones coordinating all this blood coming in while you are actually doing the cross-matching and the typing and all that stuff, because that's going to take time. You don't have time for both. So this will be an immediate call to call somebody in. Other blood products in-house, so we've got A positive plasma, B positive plasma, O positive plasma, and AB positive plasma. We don't have any Rh negative plasma. Does that matter? She's Rh negative. Should we be giving Rh negative plasma? No, we don't have to. We don't have to give Rh negative plasma because the plasma we give is not going to have any antibodies anyway. So it doesn't matter. At the Red Cross, when they draw the blood, they type and screen everybody, and they screen if you have antibodies, that unit isn't going to go to a hospital to be delivered. If it was, we'd have to cross-match all of our plasmas. Thankfully, we don't have to do that. If a donor's plasma is positive for an antibody, that unit's not going to go. So the plasma's not going to have any antibodies, and it doesn't matter if you're Rh negative, it's not going to have any antigens to stimulate your immune system. So we can give any type of plasma. Platelets, 5 units of single donor platelets. We don't have to worry about type specific because the amount of antibody that we give in a unit is going to be self-limiting. You do have to worry a little bit about Rh because most platelets have a small amount of cells in them. So if the cells are positive, we're going to be that little bit could cause an immune response. And we want to make sure we're trying not to cause an immune response in this situation. So it's really important to try to stay Rh compatible. Otherwise, this is definitely a situation where they'll give some RhoGAM while giving the Rh positive platelets. Cryoprecipitate, not available. Albumin, a half a case. Albumin is used kind of as a fluid filler. Okay, it's protein and it takes volume. It's a volumizer. So here are the plasmas that we can give. We got 2 B positives and 2 AB positives. Remember, ABs don't have anti-B and B doesn't have anti-B. So we can give the B positive and the AB positive. Single donor platelets must be Rh compatible unless we're giving RhoGAM. As I said, you're going to be on the phone, you're calling other places, you're calling other facilities, trying to get as much blood brought to you as you can, or you're getting ready to ship this woman out before she bleeds any farther. But she's already in the OR, and in the OR she's going to be using a lot of blood. So it's really important to do the best we can to get as much as we can in-house.